Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, Football Monday, specifically the best show here on the SB Nation NFL show. We're about to talk all things NFL. A reminder, though, before we do, that this show is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code SBNNFL for a special offer when you sign up. That's code SBNNFL only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Monday Football Monday, a very unique show here at the SB Nation NFL show. In fact, the SB Nation NFL show, a very unique proposition in and of itself. Every single day you get a new show around here, but this one we stream live. You can watch us on the SB Nation NFL Twitter page, the SB Nation NFL Facebook page, the SB Nation NFL YouTube channel, and you can hear us along with our colleagues over on the SB Nation NFL show. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple devices, Spotify, whatever the case. They make me say SB Nation NFL show a lot of times. It's very difficult after maybe the 8th or 9th. My name is RJ Ochoa from SB Nation's Blog and the Boys, our home for Dallas Cowboys content. Joining me, as always, here on Monday Football Monday, our fantastic producer, Rachel Prevet, the reigning MF double MVP, and of course, from Arrowhead Pride, Pete Sweeney, fresh off of his Wrestlemania title earned on Sunday night. Fresh off of the Final Four action on Saturday night. This man has been living large over the weekend. It is Pedro Swinizzle. Pete, how you doing?
What's up? Yeah. Happy April. It is good to be in April.
Did you get fooled?
I did get fooled by Twitter. I thought that for a second they were actually working on the edit button. So guilty. They are not. We are going.
See, it's not funny to
make
joke about
typos
something we all want. You know what I mean?
Like NFL season, right? Yeah, exactly. But no, things are looking up. You're right. Kansas is in the final tonight, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, Kansas is going to be the home of the Chiefs soon, too. By the way.
Yeah, apparently that might also be happening where they're jumping the state line, if you will. But yeah, it's been a good weekend. Wrestlemania. Steve Austin was the star of Wrestlemania for the first time in 20 years, which was pretty cool. It throws us back to our childhood with Stone Cold. Giving Mr. McMahon a stunner, and then Pat McAfee and everybody else. So, yeah, no, it was a good weekend, but I'm glad to be talking to you.
It's a great time in the world of sports, Pete, obviously. I'm not a WrestleMania guy myself, not my cup of tea, but I'm happy for you and all my friends and just people around the world that enjoy it. You know, I want people to enjoy things.
Every other movie and TV show in the world you're into. It's just wrestling is the only thing you aren't into, is what you're telling me.
I'm excited because tonight is the national championship, and this Monday is always an important one because this means it's Masters Monday. This is the week of the Masters. It's TBD whether or not Tiger Woods is going to play. Obviously, he hasn't.
Rest in peace, Green Jacket of the Week. We had a nice 3-week run here at MFM for Green Jacket of the Week.
You know, it's appropriate, Pete, that you would bring up something from the past because that was once upon a time an award that I handed out here. We still have the Come Up of the Week that has survived the test of time. We, of course, have the MF double MVP. Last week, you instituted a rule where we would vote for each other. So there's 3 votes to be handed out at the end of the show, so we'll see how they fall. Rachel, of course, won it last week. But we are going to look in the past today. In fact, we're going to look about maybe a year and change into the past for just kind of crap we forgot happened or something that's like, you know, I'm going to tell you, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that happened. Like, because a lot changes. I mean, it's kind of insane how much the NFL can turn over in the span of 365 days or so.
This is where you and I are different. I'm much more of a future-looking guy. I look ahead. You are a yesteryear man, and I'm going to oblige today because I'm a team player. So
yesteryear. All right, are you ready to look through the past?
What I would tell you, and this is going to be an interesting show, is it is crazy how many weird things happened over the past year in the NFL, and it not only is a sign that the NFL is crazy in general, but the power of the news cycle. I was looking at that list, took a peek, didn't want to look at everything, but I was looking at that list that you compiled this morning, and it's crazy that we have forgotten about some insane things. So it'll be fun to look back a little bit here.
So I do want to say, among the things, because we did a little bit of prep for the show, kind of our job. And one of the things you have that it goes beyond a year, so it's before April of 2021. You just one, but you know we'll kind of
plus,
right? You know, just got to throw in that little plus, like a subscription service, like Pete Plus. You know what I mean? Promo code Pete to sign up. You know what I'm saying?
I have this great idea for subscription services. You put them all in one package and you pay one price, and
like a cable subscription, right?
I think that would be perfect for right now. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Pete, do you want to start? Do you
might
want me
be
to
cheaper.
start? How do you want to? How you want to do this thing?
Well, whatever you want to do, man. I'm a man of the people this morning.
All right, I will start first.
Okay.
We can go anywhere. It can be on the field. It can be off the field. However you would like to kind of break this down. I'm going to take one from my list. And I know it's kind of this may not be something that people forgot, but it is. It's far back in the memory. Urban Meyer, former Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, literally did not fly back with his team after they lost a game. And it's not like like that kind of thing has happened like when teams play in London, you know what I mean? Like you get like the weird and it's usually like a Tom Brady or like a really like a OBJ or somebody that has a brand or something that they had a commercial, Aaron Donald, like whatever, and Ndamukong Suh. There's a purpose.
Teams when they're going into their bye, and then occasionally the player is from that city. I feel like that's the only time you really see it. A lot of times, these guys fly back and then fly out again.
Or something like that's a great example. Like maybe Lamar Jackson stays behind to go to Louisville to watch his jersey get retired. Something like that. But no. Urban Meyer stuck around to go to out. After we saw the video, it looked to me like not a bar, but like the bar at like an Applebee's. You know what I mean? Like not a normal bar. You know what I mean? Like it was a really well lit bar. It reminded me of this place in College Station called Logan's. It's been a while, but anyway, and was seen with a young woman fraternizing, a young woman that was not his wife. Like that happened. Like that's a really crazy thing to think that actually happened. It's also crazy to think that he literally did not make it through his first season in the NFL. Literally did not even make it, through an entire year. And I know that they added a game. It was 17 games long. But still, he did not make it an entire season. That is nuts.
What's wild about it, too, is going into the Urban Meyer experience in Jacksonville, he was largely a sought-after coach in a way. I think there were a lot of even college programs considering how can we sway this
USC,
guy out of retirement and come and lead our program. And it has been a complete and deserved pulling of the rug for Meyer. And even just going back to the fact that he stayed back, it just is an insane decision in the NFL where your players, and especially, and I say especially carefully because it's inexcusable even if you're winning, but especially when you're losing as much as they were, you can't just say, all right, guys, go back to Jacksonville. I'm going to go stay here in my hometown here and party. It just, I don't know. It was very off-putting, and it just was one of many things that eventually led to what was embarrassing, I think, for the Khan family. I think they really deeply regret it. And so we'll see how they turn it around here. And, you wasted a year of this very promising quarterback's career. So I also think that's why you saw them go in a quarterback direction with Doug Peterson. Mm-hmm. Peterson was a backup quarterback under Andy Reid in Philly. Kind of part of the resurgence of the Chiefs here and won the Super Bowl in Philly. So hopefully they can turn around Trevor Lawrence quick. I think that's the biggest thing that is annoying to me about this Meyer experience was losing a year of development for what is a very, very good and the most hyped up prospect we forget since Andrew Luck. And again, just a wasted year.
This may be a trivia question someday. Do you know who the Jacksonville Jaguars lost to? The game in question that Urban Meyer stayed behind for.
Yeah, it was Cincinnati, wasn't it?
Okay, well, I just didn't make sure if you knew that. But I remember that night thinking, like during the Thursday night, post game, Joe Burrow was on the set with, Joe Thomas and Colleen Wolfe and all them. And I remember thinking, like, man, people are really like making a big deal about this Bengals win. Like this isn't that good of a team. Like I vividly remember thinking that. So good job by me. You mentioned Andrew Luck before we move on to yours. Jim Irsay was quoted at the owners' meetings, about Andrew Luck and said that, it was a really big deal. It was a really big setback. Shut up, you losers. I mean, get over it. Like it was 3 years ago already. I mean, gosh, what a bunch of losers. The Colts are my least favorite team in the NFL. They are my least favorite team.
I don't know about that for me.
Well, I don't care about that for you, Pete. I care about your thing that we forgot happened for you.
Least favorite organization it's the Dallas Cowboys. I think it was really interesting that a NFL player's dad changed the course of history this season in the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. wasn't going to come out himself and say, that Baker Mayfield was the reason why his production had gone far down and he was a shell of his former self, left with old dad. No, you know what? And he went on Instagram and put up that video splicing of all the problems.
Great
Baker
editing
Mayfield
work, right?
And his throws to OBJ and how it was not OBJ's fault because he was getting separation and Baker stunk, essentially. And it seemed at the time nuts, right? You had this dad going on Instagram and OBJ is not even really coming out and saying, don't listen to my dad. He's crazy. Like the ball situation in the NBA. I think sometimes those kids get sick of our ball. But this was a situation where the father really, I think, created a rift here, a legitimate rift that led to the release of OBJ because it was so messy and there was so much money involved. No team claimed him. And then the team that did, and he was free, he went to this team and looked great. His dad was right. It was crazy. And it led to the Super Bowl championship. I know that he ended up tearing the ACL in the Super Bowl, but he had a touchdown in the game. And I don't know if they were there without OBJ. So kudos to Odell Beckham Sr. for winning the Super Bowl for his son, essentially.
For the Rams. No, like if you're a Rams fan, like how are you? But, I mean, because like you said it and you actually didn't come around to this point. Like he changed the future in the course of his son's life, obviously. But I mean, we forget Robert Woods tore his ACL like right away after. Remember, Odell Beckham Jr. gets there, and so like, what if Odell goes to the Packers? Remember, it was down to those two, or just stays in Cleveland. I mean, what do the Rams do? What happens to the Rams if they just lose Robert Woods? Are they, the same team? Like Odell was pivotal down the stretch. I mean, like the Rams kind of owe Mr. Beckham a title, or a ring. I mean, I think at the very least.
Absolutely, or at least they have different levels of rings. Get him a B or a C ring at least to make him come on.
Right, that's true. Would you take a B ring from the Rams?
No. I don't have any interest in these rings. I'm not going to wear it. I just know I'm not going to wear it.
I could see you rocking like a money clip. You know what I mean? Like they get you like a Super Bowl money clip. I could see that.
I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe a
team wallet.
Team wallet. I think the coolest thing that I've seen here. I have friends that work in the Chiefs organization. A lot of them got them replica Lombardi trophies that they have sitting there. I'm not a big like wearing it out guy. They call it billboarding. I don't need to billboard, RJ. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Are you ready for my next one?
Sure.
Okay. So last week or 2 weeks ago, Teddy Bridgewater, now with the Miami Dolphins, is asked about Tua Tagovailoa and hey, are you here to start? He said, I'm not going to answer that, whatever. And it was like, what a great guy, Teddy, this and that. He's not, of course he's there to start. He's not going to say he's not going to throw Tua under the bus, whatever. And I'm not here to, dog on Teddy the person. Teddy's by all measures and all accounts a great human being.
The leash on Tua has shortened. I don't know how many games it is, but it's short.
Teddy's a great person. We've seen that over the course of his career. Great comeback story, obviously, after the devastating injury in Minnesota. It's been nice to see Teddy have these moments. However, and you mentioned it like the news cycle, like the benefit of time has really squashed this. Teddy Bridgewater, at one point this past season, after there's so many stands for Teddy who are like, he needs to start. He's better than whoever the other quarterback is in whatever city he's in at the moment. Right. Teddy Bridgewater, Darius Slay, returning the football, running the other way. You have to stop him. Teddy Bridgewater made a business decision and let him run by. Let him run by. Just completely, totally didn't even challenge him whatsoever. Let him run by. And the Broncos.
I got 3 words for you, though. And that's Texas Forever Street. I don't blame him at all. I might have made the same decision.
I mean, but remember the vitriol that was surrounding Twitter in those 30 minutes? You know what I mean? And people like Zapruder filming, the angles and Teddy this and that, whatever. And then remember he came out and said he was embarrassed and everything like that. When people see stuff like that, they're like, oh, this is going to follow this player for the rest of his career. It's over. It's been a few months and it's over. Nobody even remembers it happened.
If there's any position though that should be doing that, it's I didn't care about that. I if there's any position that should be avoiding contact at all costs, it's that position. If you lose your quarterback, you're done. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. The Nick Foles thing is a miracle that happened. It's never going to happen again. So I can understand why he did what he did.
Okay, well, fine, whatever. Next on your list, Pete. Let's hear it.
Okay, I don't know how many people forgot about this, so I'm going a little bit.
Great job putting it on the list, then. Great job.
Yeah, but it just needs to be brought up again. The fact that Antonio Brown, and it wasn't this falling out. The falling out, okay, predictable. And guess what? It's not just Brown. There are a lot of falling outs in the NFL every year.
What was a more predictable combustion? And obviously they happened in different ways, but Urban Meyer or Antonio Brown?
Probably Brown.
Wow.
Probably Brown. I don't know. I want to tell you and sit here a year later and say that I didn't think that Urban Meyer was going to work when it was going down, but the hype train, it was just too high, and he had been out of the game for so long, and it just felt like, okay, it wouldn't combust as fast as it did. Maybe it wouldn't work, and it could be like this Nick Saban thing where you have a couple of years.
No, I think we knew it was going to fail. Like there was no doubt about it. But at the very least, it was only going to fail from a football standpoint, right? Right. I mean, and he's not exactly regarded to be a great human being, but it was unbelievably fast, even for him. So okay, back to Antonio Brown though.
But no, it wasn't the fact that the Antonio Brown thing didn't work, because I think eventually, all things lead to a messy ending with Brown. This has now happened a number of different places, but to see it and for him to be taking his clothes off on the field, we had never seen anything like this. He had no shirt on. And he was waving to the fans. And then all of a sudden, your boy, Bruce Arians, recently retired Super Bowl champ, he gets on the mic after the game and he won't talk about it because he says he's not on the team anymore, which was, you got to talk about it at that point. This was your
again. Nobody wants to hold Bruce Arians accountable for anything. It's like he cursed about it. He said, "Oh, we're not effing talking about this," and it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cool! It's so cool!" He curses. Wow.
There was a Bills player. I'm not a big Arians guy myself. I don't have the hate you do, and I probably should if there's anyone. But the wild thing is he leaves without a shirt, and this is years after a Buffalo Bill retired at halftime. I'm forgetting the name. Do you remember this name?
Oh, the corner. Man.
We had just never seen anything like it.
Vontae Davis,
where you had the fan video, and you start to see the argument, and you could see Brown's wheels turning, and he quit the team. I mean, it's like a high school player, like a sophomore that's on JV, and it's like, I just don't want to play football anymore. That's what happened in the pros. Anyway, so
in a game, like it didn't happen like midweek. I mean, it was astounding. I mean,
players quit, but you just never see it, and you got to see the moment. And what's crazy about this particular player, and you can have a whole nother conversation about the disaster that is Antonio Brown off the field, is if you just go by the on the field play, I mean, he's within the top 20 wide receivers in the league. It's just so crazy that he's
probably in the top 20 wide receivers in NFL history, like off talent alone. Yeah, I mean, like he is.
I know. It's crazy.
He is stupid talented. Yeah. We need to see, like, people throw out the phrase like, "Oh, they need to do a 30 for 30." We need to see a 30 for 30 on the Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown Steelers, and what was lost.
Don't you think there needs to be like a lighthearted section of the Hall of Fame where you put Antonio Brown's jersey, or the pen that was under the thing for the touchdown celebration where who was it? Terrell Owens tried to sign the football,
or like there has to be like I wouldn't say like a spoof, but I'm a believer in the Hall of Fame needs to obviously hold and
Roger
curate
Goodell,
the greatest
chair during the pandemic.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Like it also needs the Hall of Fame also needs to be like a museum. You know what I mean? Of like seminal and pivotal things. And so these fall in like Ryan Leaf, like not a Hall of Famer, but like an important, like you know what I mean? Like that I love the question of you can't tell the story of the Hall of Fame without like whoever. I don't think that means you're a Hall of Famer, but you can't tell the story of the NFL without Ryan Leaf. You know what I mean? Like you need that section. Let's add a wing. Let's slap a wing on to the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Philip Rivers' Giants hat and Eli Manning's Chargers hat.
Right, exactly. Oh, Pete,
Yeah.
you're on to something
Brand new
here.
idea. Yeah.
You are on to
Okay.
something. And an Andy Reid like Hawaiian shirt from the Pro Bowl, just like one of these. We need one of these
Sure,
things.
would give one up. Yeah, be good.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Next one. I liked that one a lot. I think that we forgot. We totally and I'm gonna pull up the exact quote here about Matt Rule's Jay-Z quote. That was maybe the dumbest thing that any human being said throughout the NFL season.
Can you remind me? Can you give me an encore?
So Rule, after the Panthers lost to the Buccaneers, compared what they were doing, the Panthers were doing, what they've been experiencing, to Jay-Z. He said, "I believe it's 1,000% working." When asked about like the, vibe that they had, like he believes like his mantra or his disposition is working. "I just know no one can see it, and I apologize. As I tell our team all the time, it took Jay-Z like 7 years. He had to start his own agency to become famous, to become an overnight sensation. It takes time."
It takes time to become an overnight sensation. Is not moron in itself.
I just like this. Like Matt Rule has been the biggest fraud. He deserves like the Indianapolis Colts deserve Matt Rule. That's how I feel about this.
You are. I didn't realize how anti-Colts you were,
Dude, I hate that
I think they're- I think they're likable now with Matt Ryan.
No,
Second
Carson
half?
Wentz stinks, but I hate how how Jim Irsay like backed the truck over him. Like they want no blood over their hands, and like they made that decision, all of them.
If you're firing anyone for that particular decision, it's got to be Reich. I got to think that Reich was
Sure.
the person
I mean,
that
like,
said, go get this guy.
But that's when. But they're all acting like victims. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Carson Wentz ruined us. Like, no, you made the decision. Like, you backed him, you stand him, you supported him. Like, you made him your guy, despite everybody telling you not to. So don't act now like holier than thou because it didn't work out. But that's a different subject. Matt Rule.
Some people really feel he's taking command this year, so we'll see. Going back to this Matt Rule thing, though, I'd agree. And what's wild right now too is they're about to lean into Sam Darnold again, and
That may not be the case because there's a lot of mock drafts that have Kenny Pickett going to them because Matt Rule recruited him to Temple, but then when he left to go to Baylor, Kenny Pickett left. So there's a history there, as everybody knows. I mean, but like that's the most predictable thing, is it not? And then like you can hear Matt Rule like caping for the decision, like in their post draft press conference on Thursday night, like he's like I knew when I recruited Kenny that this guy had it, that he's the best quarterback I've ever been around, best talent I've ever been around. Like, dude, the Panthers are quickly. I've never like really felt an emotion about the Panthers. Like I've never hated them or loved them or liked them. Like everybody I thought they were cool in 2015, but the Panthers are quickly turning into like this loser franchise that I just can't think is relevant. Like there's a lot of, and it's not even like they have some awful non-football things in their history, but like the football of who they are is really bad and depressing.
I also think though, if you're going to try to go in that direction and use a pop culture quote and try to get the media and fans back on your side, you gotta have the story or the quote down. You got to practice that one. And really, he was trying to think of something off the cuff, and I think really lighten the mood, and it's made him more of a joke. And I don't know what's going to happen with the Panthers. You've heard rumblings about them potentially trading Christian McCaffrey, which would be the equivalent of any team saying we're just going to start from scratch and blow this thing up. And I don't think
Cat Scratch Reader, by the way, SB Nation's home for Carolina Panthers content.
Thank you for Harrison Butker. I think this is a team and a regime that needs to win now, and I'm not optimistic for them. And that's just another part of the story, the Jay-Z quote. Yeah.
Everything about the Panthers is lame and stupid and dumb right now. I feel badly for them.
How would you feel if Jimmy G went to Carolina?
I would feel the same. I would not feel like it was an improvement by any means. I mean, like they've made this bed, like they made the bed with Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? Like, and so like they traded for him. They picked up his 5th-year option. Like nobody forced this on them.
I have one that I just thought of stemming from this conversation. But how about the entire country getting set on fire when Cam Newton scored and he said, "I'm back, I'm
dude,
back," and he
that
was so far from back.
I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about things we forgot to happen, do you remember what you said about this on this show on Monday Football Monday?
I hope we don't have a clip of it.
We don't. But
okay, thank goodness.
You said.
I said, let's be calm here. And let's not
get
ahead of ourselves.
You said this is the greatest story in sports.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what you said.
You know, at the time it was. You know, RJ, sometimes you got to believe in love at first sight. And I fell in love with that story. It was a little too fast. I fell hard. I fell fast. And I got hurt. I got hurt by it. What am I going to do?
You know, I think one of the biggest losers of the last 2 off seasons is David Tepper, because like, what have we heard about this dude? Like, David Tepper wants to make a big move. Like he wants to swing for the fences. Like he wants to come in.
He's the wealthiest owner, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, so he wants to come in. He wants to be flashy and blah blah. Like, ooh, drop the. It's just Facebook. Like, you know, like he's all about this like weird stuff. And to be very clear here, I don't support what they were in on, which was the Deshaun Watson situation. But I mean, like, what have they done? Like you know, like his flashiest move has been trading for Sam Darnold. You know, like if anyone is like all talk and no walk, it's David Tepper.
I also think the Deshaun thing is interesting because you've seen a lot of Cleveland fans jump off the bandwagon. And, you know, I look at our colleague and friend Gina, and she jumped off Atlanta's bandwagon because they got involved. If you're outraged that the Browns got Watson and are leaning in, if you're Indianapolis, if you're New Orleans, it's kind of the same thing. They just lost out on the sweepstakes. So kudos to Gina for being as outraged that her team got involved. But I just think you're seeing Cleveland fans look for new teams. And I feel like if you are into that energy, if you're one of the other teams that were trying to get involved, then maybe, you know, you should be looking for a new team as well. That's a story for another day. Yeah.
Are we up for another new one? Another thing we forgot happened?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna steal one from your list. All right. You ready for this? Okay. Cool. So I hate the Colts. All right. And I hate that I'm going to say this.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Well, I hate that I'm going to say this.
All right.
I'm starting to hate the Chargers a little bit because I hate.
If you need an AFC West team, room.
You know what? Honestly, I'm kind of here for the Chiefs. All right, like I'm kind of sick of this talk. Like I'm kind of sick of everybody walking around like the Chiefs haven't just walked this thing up and down, back and forth. Like Patrick Mahomes isn't inevitable. You know who's winning the AFC in 2022, Pete Sweeney? The Buffalo Bills. But you know who's winning the AFC West? The Kansas City Chiefs. All right, now back to the LA Chargers. I have never, and I feel like I agree with Chiefs fans because I see the comments that are ahead, Pride. I have never seen a team crowned for achieving absolutely nothing more than I've seen the Chargers.
10 years in a row now.
I mean, like the Chargers are just it's like Justin Herbert is awesome, but it's like he makes some great throws, and it's like he's better than Patrick Mahomes. Have you seen the throws that Patrick Mahomes makes? Brandon Staley goes for it on 4th down. He's better than Andy Reid. Have you seen what Andy Reid has done over the course of his NFL career? I don't even know that I think Brandon Staley's the second best coach in the division. I mean, right now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I have a difficult time completely and totally buying all the way in. People see their uniforms and like the bolts and stuff, and they're in LA, and so people are like trying to will it into existence. People forget, this is not what we're here to talk about, but people forget they lost to the Houston Texans when they were in playoff contention. They got embarrassed by the Houston Texans. I say this all the time about the Colts. People give them so much crap for losing to the Raiders and the Jaguars, rightfully so, but they do not give a tenth of that crap to the Chargers for losing to the Texans and then to the Raiders in the regular season finale, that game that we all loved and we were rooting for the tie-in, and that is what we're here to talk about. Brandon Staley's timeout. What the hell? We totally forgot. Like, some coaching blunders are like never forgotten. This was one of the most massive coaching blunders of all time when you factor in the consequences and all of the variables. And it's just like nobody remembers it. Like, people are now all the way back to like Brandon Staley is super cool. He's young and he reads books, as if that just makes him the smartest man alive.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting time when the Raiders were playing the Chargers, given the fact that they could tie and both make the postseason, because there were a lot of levels to it. Because you had the quote unquote football guys on social media saying you never play for the tie, and then a lot of fans and more media types, analytics were like, why isn't the whole plan deal to make the postseason? And then you get
go off, Pete. Go off, kid. Go off.
Get to overtime, and it's all right there for you. And like, if you really dig into the comments of Derek Carr after the game, he admits the timeout changed everything. The Raiders were going to let the clock go out because guess what? That would have meant they were in the postseason. But instead, it was, I think, a microcosm of the season for Staley because he introduced a lot of I think, new theory on the analytics and going for it on fourth down and believing in your offense, believing in your play calling, and saying, okay, we're going to go a little bit more new school as we've ever seen it, with going for it on fourth down, midfield, so on and so forth. And at times, I just think, and you talk to other coaches around the league, and there's some gut. You got to like do it at the right time. And it's just not simply analytics, right? Like sometimes you just know that your team is not going to pick this up. And even though it's 2 yards, you punt it away. There's no gut with Brandon Staley. And he's just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And we're going to be aggressive and go for it. It's like, dude, kiss. Let's shout out to my sweet mother, Miss Denise Sweeney. Keep it simple, stupid. They could have made the postseason, and we wouldn't have had to watch Ben Roethlisberger get embarrassed in Kansas City, and it would have been a way more interesting game. And so I don't know. I think he overthought himself there, and I think it was a learning lesson. I think the Chargers are in better hands, obviously, with Herbert and Staley.
Sure.
But don't overthink it, man. It's not that difficult.
No, I mean, there's a little bit of like little brother syndrome, I think, is maybe the kindest way to say it with the Chargers. Like they're constantly trying to prove themselves, and maybe they're trying to prove the hype. Right? Like remember the old like fight for LA? Like they're the best team in LA. They're the best team in the AFC West. They actually have the best young quarterback in the AFC West. Like it's constantly trying to prove it. Like no, dude, just take the easy. It's okay. Like don't have that much pride. And I think like people are so obsessed with them that like they inject all these things. Like they're cool and different, whatever. No, they're egotistical and prideful, and it cost them, and everybody forgot that happened.
Yeah, I am into the Chargers, and I am into every team in the AFC West. I think it's going to be fascinating this year, and the margin is going to be so small. And if Staley makes a couple stupid decisions, watch for the Chargers to maybe be in fourth place. Honestly, because the Raiders are in better hands now. The Broncos were a quarterback away, and now they got Russ. We'll see what's still in the tank, but the order of the AFC West teams could be anything. And with the margin being so close and you lose a couple more games because of these stupid decisions, you're going to be in fourth place. And if you're in fourth place and it's your second season in the league and you have a rookie quarterback and you're putting all this money into other a rookie quarterback contract and you're putting all this money into other skill players to get it done and you don't, and it's because of these decisions, shoot, man, you're giving the ownership a tough decision. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Don't come for our Chiefs. Our Chiefs. All right, Pete, what else you got?
Okay. We talked about the Brandon Staley timeout. So this, again, we're going year plus. The fact that Tom Brady threw the Lombardi trophy is wild. What if that thing actually went into the water and sunk to the ocean floor? What if that would have happened? That was a couple feet of a throw from, what was it, Tom Brady to Gronkowski on the other boat? Who was on the other boat? Anyway,
yeah.
Fortunate that this trophy did not sink to the bottom. And what happens if it does? Like I always just think about the alternate universe where, let's say that Lombardi trophy goes into the water. Who's jumping in to get there? I don't think it's Tom, right? Does he throw his kid in there to go get it? Is it safe because there's boats all going the same direction? I just was, what a decision. I understand there was now famously some avocado tequila involved, as Tom likes to bring up every once in a while, but we've never seen anything like that before. And it's because I guess you did have the safety net of the water, and typically these parades are happening with concrete where the thing would just shatter and break. But I think it's just wild to think about that trophy could have been in the water.
Well, Gronk had the very famous, whatever it was, like, remember he used it as like a baseball bat or whatever, and he like on a light kind of pitch thing. I think they went to like a Red Sox opening day or like something once they threw a first pitch or something. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I think I say this like in a good way. Like we forget that like their parade was on boats. That's super cool. I still mean that's one of the cooler parades I've ever seen. Like I think it's cool when we do stuff that is like relative to the mascots. I've said this forever that different like Ring of Honors should be named after the mascots. Like I think the Denver Broncos, for example, it should be like the stable of honor. You know what I mean? Like because that's where like horses would be.
Broncos
like
country, let's ride.
I think the Jets should be like the hangar. You know what I mean? Like it should be something that has to do with that like mascot. You know what I'm saying? Like the Cowboys Ring of Honor should be like the corral or the saloon. You know what I mean? Like something that like everyone would be in. You can't just call them all the Ring of Honor. You know, it's lame.
Right.
So, and like in that sense, the parade for the Buccaneers was on boats. That's cool. It would have been dumb if any other team, except for maybe the Dolphins, although the Dolphins on boats wouldn't make sense. That would be like not good for the Dolphins. You know?
Right. No, yeah. I think anytime you see a team that has water involved with their city,
I guess the Raiders could be on boats. Sorry, but go ahead.
Any team in Florida will do the boats now. I think you'll even see some teams in the other coasts and where it's cool. Yeah, I agree. It was a very cool looking, different type of parade, and also it was nice. I think again, I think the throwing the Lombardi Trophy was nuts, but it was also nice to kind of see Tom Brady, who was just so, it seems sometimes tightly strung, and you could tell he was having a fun day. So nice to see the human side of Tom Brady.
You mentioned avocado tequila. Would you hit that?
Yeah. Depends on the time, but I would not be afraid to try it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Next up for me, we forgot, I think, that Ian Book started the game for the New Orleans Saints.
I forgot.
And not just like
prime time.
It was Monday Night Football, and that was part of the Dolphins' win streak. That remember that they were 1-7 and won, whatever it was, 7-8 games in a row.
Yeah.
And like they just caught this incredible run of luck, and that was part of it. That happened. Like they started Ian Book on Monday Night Football, and ESPN's Monday Night Football broadcast, which hopefully is massively improved, made all the Book jokes that, were super obvious. I mean, that was bad. Like, that was not fun to watch.
This is the perfect scenario, though, and I'm only bringing this up, and I know sometimes this ticks people off for whatever reason, but this is what is so enraging, that Colin Kaepernick, who's starting to surface a little bit again, is not in the league. When you had an Ian Book, no offense to my man, Mr. Book, but come on, at that stage, I mean, that there are so many examples of like Cap should be a backup quarterback in the NFL, and that was another one. But yeah, I think you just never know when you get to the depth of these teams what can happen, and sometimes, I mean, we are 2 years removed from Kendall Hinton starting a game because the Broncos.
That was like an emergency thing, but yeah, you're right.
It was an emergency thing, but it was also a punishment thing because I guess there was clips from Broncos cameras in their facility.
Broncos country. That's right.
Let's ride. Where they were being inappropriate and not following the guidelines. So they said, no, you're going to start this wide receiver. And it was a disaster. And so
that was against the New Orleans Saints, by the way. So the Saints like tied to all these weird quarterback situation scenarios. On the subject of Monday Night Football, you had this on your list. The Manning curse, I think we forgot happened.
The Manning curse. And, I think a lot of people are will tell you that these ideas of staying true to your routine and some of those things, it's more of a baseball thing, and I would agree. I think you hear more of those things in baseball.
Gloves.
Right. But if
opening week this week, baby, that's another sports thing happening around. Look at that.
Right. If you really notice, though, once the Manning cast curse became a thing, you didn't see many active players going on there anymore. And so it became really real, and I'm eager to see for this next season. I know you won't be watching the Manning cast anymore, RJ, because your boys are heading to ESPN Original, ESPN Heavy, if you will. But I wonder if any active players will agree to go on ever again. It seems like it's a consensus. No, this is actually like a real thing, which is crazy. I mean, it's fun to talk about, but these things aren't real. This is just like a phenomenon, but I'm wondering if they are going to be able to pull any active players.
I have one more, and then you can do one more. Are we ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to like properly encapsulate this. So I'm just gonna say his name, Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's a lot that happened. with Aaron Rodgers this past year. And it feels like, it honestly kind of feels like we forgot his new contract by now. You know what I mean? Like just that, like it's because of the news cycle and everything that's happened since then.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, I mean, we've known forever that Aaron does his weekly hits with Pat McAfee. I don't think anybody could have foresaw how bad it was. You know what I mean? Like the interview in question, like it was literally the worst like sequence of words that he could have said out loud. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Well, I don't think
awful.
anyone ever thought that something that Rodgers said
Would be
in
so
an interview
miscalculated, right?
could be like on the level of like Alex Jones. No one ever thought
That's
that.
what I'm saying. Like
to
it
be in
was
the same
the
realm.
most like like the fraudulent is not the right word, but it exposed like this level of fraudulence to his. He has touted forever about how he is so smart and so introspective and he's such a deep thinker and blah. You know what I mean? And like to like show his cards like that was really, really, really like whoa. And it feels like forever ago that happened.
Well, I think as he went on too, I mean, even he kind of dialed it back a little bit. I think it shell shocked him. I think he went into the interview being like, the people are going to realize I'm a deep thinker, and it went from like deep feeling like he's a deep thinker, and a lot of folks were being very public and forthcoming that they thought he was a little nuts and insane, and he dialed it back a little bit. And I think sort of as time goes on, and our whole podcast today is about the news cycle. He became, likable again, and then you get the big contract, and you agree to stay with the team, and you at the same time lose your top receiver, and there's a lot that has happened now that makes you forget about that type of stuff, and that's why you see things dropped on Friday. So you dropped it. You have your Deshaun Watson press conference, and that gets buried by the Final Four, and you're talking about new NFL things on Monday, and again, it is the power of the news cycle, and yeah, we do forget about some of the interesting things that Rodgers had to say on the Pat McAfee show for sure. So
Last one for you, Pete Sweeney. Make it a good one, and then Rachel's going to hit us with one.
okay, I think the John Gruden midseason firing. This John Gruden, be it
No,
be
well,
it on,
if we're being literal, midseason resignation, just to be
right,
again,
right,
literal.
right, being pushed out. John Gruden resigned midseason amid the scandal, and for a guy that had been such a staple of the NFL for so long, be it as a coach or a broadcaster. I mean, we forget too. I mean, he was a beloved Monday Night Football broadcaster with Mike Tirico, and I think it's just this particular story shows the power of the Shield because no one even cares. No one even cares anymore. Rich Bisaccia took over. More to the Raiders story last year, and it was crazy. Really cool, I think, to see them make the postseason after everything that they went through. Impressive. But yeah, the NFL continue to roll along, and occasionally you'll get these Gruden stories where he comes out and through X amount of mediums says that, oh, the truth will finally come out. The truth will set me free. And it's like, dude, no one cares, and everyone kind of just wants you to go away. And that's the NFL, and that's the power of the NFL. The Shield keeps on rolling along, and it's easy to forget that. Like I find, and maybe if you live in Oakland or Vegas, this is different. I find sometimes that I even forget John Gruden that was ever a thing, and I just think that is a funny part of the past year or so. Not maybe funny is the wrong word, but an interesting part of the last year or so.
Very different chapter in Raiders history. Not just Gruden, but Mike Mayock. I mean, right? Like they plucked two dudes out of television to like completely, totally run their team. I mean, they moved to Vegas. Like, like there's been an enormous amount of seismic changes with that franchise.
I always think it's interesting when you get the media guy that flips the script and just joins the team. Being on this side, and again, me and Mike Mayock have very different backgrounds, but he was on this side of the coin and then now goes to the other, and you don't really see a lot of success when typically that happens. So it didn't work out with Mayock. They ended up moving on, and now it's a completely new Raiders regime.
Rachel, are you ready to give us your thing that we forgot happened over the course of the last year?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just want to say this one was pretty positive. Because a lot of you guys were kind of negative. And
Pete's
I'm
were
like,
negative, not mine,
guys,
just to be very
come
clear.
on,
Mhm.
here's the good stuff. RJ, I
Yeah,
don't know if
it's
you
true.
were talking about this one because you weren't that specific in your notes, but the offensive lineman touchdown on the Ravens, sadly, when he flipped into the end zone, it didn't count.
Oh my
So that
God,
was
that
like
was
a
such a great
positive,
play.
fun
Well, I hate
memory.
to tell you this, Rachel. I got called back, so it's kind
play
of
got
negative.
called back.
It
Just
got called
trying to
back.
call you back out of
So,
but
but that was like something that I remember that was like fun and
That was
positive.
they made T-shirts about it.
Yeah.
I would say so. That game also took place on Thursday night, like the
Yeah.
Jaguars Bengals thing. And sometimes, and I'll be very interested to see if this happens this year with the new broadcast. Peter King, by the way, wrote about that this morning, that they expect to launch the Thursday Night Football broadcast in week 2 with the Chiefs, Pete. So you'll be busy. But like things that happen in that slot kind of get forgotten. Like I think because we all wake up on Friday and then we all have like plans and like then it's college football and stuff. So like it just kind of like falls by the wayside. That was such a unique night. I remember like watching that, and then he did the post game interview. I talked about that with Joe Burrow, with Joe Thomas and Colleen Wolfe and all them. And that was a really like bad loss for the Ravens. Like that was a really embarrassing loss. That was a really weird time, Rachel. And I guess you remember that a little bit more vividly because you, of course, are a Ravens fan.
That's why I said, despite who they were playing, I had to, kind of disregard that part. I think that the fact that the person who scored the touchdown that was called back, that was really cool, like to see.
Okay. I like that one. Are we ready to all vote for MF double MVP today?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Remember the rules. We're all going to send a name at the same time in the chat, and then we're going to react to it. Are we ready? Pete, Rachel, you both ready to roll? You have your name set or ready? All right, we're going to hit send on 1, 2, 3, go. Whoa! By unanimous decision, a true Wrestlemania style win. Wow. Today's Monday Football Monday most valuable player. The P stands for Pete Sweeney.
When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. No, it feels good. A long time coming. I've never done this before. We've been doing this show for a while now, but I'm going to give myself the come up of the week. This has been an award.
Just sweeping it all, taking it all.
That has been muddled for a long time, and finally we have a unanimous decision, myself voting for myself. You have Rachel and RJ both voting for me. And look, it's nice now to have two double MF MVPs on the mantle, and I look forward to continuing to pile up this hardware. So congratulations to me.
Just so we fully make Pete feel good, Rachel, why did you vote for him?
So I was taking notes on the ones that I liked. Pete had brought up the Cam Newton one, returning to the Panthers. That was a really good one that wasn't on our pre-show notes. Also, I like the AB shirtless one as well, in the Manning curse. So those three sit out.
Yeah, first rule of improv: always lean in to what,
Pete,
to what you think.
The reason I voted for you, I ended up stealing it and talking about it myself. But the Brandon Staley thing, again, like he's in the box of Colts for me, like the people that I kind of hate a little bit. So I hate the Colts a lot, but that was a really good job by you holding people accountable. It's good for you. Good responsible action by you. Proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, always willing to hold people accountable. That's one thing you should know about me. That's great.
Rachel, Kansas or UNC tonight?
UNC for sure.
Pete.
Tough decision.
I'm going UNC, just so we're aware here.
It's my conference, the ACC versus Hawks. I have a lot of friends in Kansas City. I'm probably leaning KU just because I'm hoping my even though they make fun of Syracuse quite a bit here for missing the postseason, I'm going to lean into them and say I hope you guys get it. It's hard to get here, so hopefully Kansas gets it. Yeah.
As we close, Rachel, I don't know if you knew this or not. I know Pete did, so I really wanted to bring it up. I mentioned earlier that the Chiefs might be playing in Kansas soon. We'll see what happens with their new stadium deal. But one of the most recent members of the Chiefs, TBD, as far as his new home is concerned, Tyrann Mathieu, actually thought that Kansas City was in Kansas when he signed with the Chiefs. Did he not?
Yeah. Oh. No, it's confusing. you know.
As far as things we forgot, that actually happened. What was the tweet? Pete, it was like, "What up, Kansas?" or something like that. Like he tweeted that right when he signed.
That's something you learn living in Kansas City. I, of course, was born on the East Coast. I've been in Kansas City for almost 10 years now. And so you learn it pretty quickly that you better know the difference between Missouri and Kansas. And because Kansas City is right between the two states, there's a lot of pride, whether you're a Missourian or whether you're on the Kansas side, and what's better, why it's better. And so, yeah, a lot of people will Make sure
Definitely.
you know that Arrowhead Stadium and the Chiefs are in KC Mo, as they say. Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Bad luck for the Honey Badger, but he'll have a new team soon, new deal, and then he'll be back to dominating. So
Cowboys? Question mark?
Pete. Like the Cowboys are going to spend some money. That's something I never forget. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us today on Monday Football Monday. Rachel is on Twitter at Rachel Monique. Pete is on Twitter at PG Sween. Today's MF double MVP. I am on Twitter at RJ Ochoa. Pete, the final words belong to you, MF double MVP.
Toto, we're not in Missouri anymore.
We'll see y'all next week.